John Nabors inside Arkansas, and he also hosts Locked on the Razorbacks. Joining us on the Farm Bureau guest line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team, Mississippi Farm Bureau. I'm sorry. He also hosts Locked on Hogs. I got the name wrong there. John, good afternoon. What's up, my man?
Hey, what's going on? You actually got the name right. It's just that stupid Twitter won't let me put Locked On Razorbacks in my handle, so I have to go with Locked On Hogs. But either way, you search for it, I'm sure you'll find it.
You'll find it one way or the other. If you want Arkansas news, they will find you. This is such an interesting team this year. Not a lot of people thought much of them going into the season. Some of the results, you're like, it's kind of what we thought it might be when it was all said and done. But then there are also results like that in the Tennessee game in particular where you're like, that was really impressive. And to me, forgive me for rewinding a couple of games, the atmosphere was so good. It's like, oh, yeah, that's what it can be like inside Razorback Stadium.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was about as good of an atmosphere as you could ask for. And, that was a game that Arkansas just desperately needed as a fan base, to be honest. I mean, the whole last year for football, basketball, and baseball didn't exactly go well for any of the sports. So it was nice, I think, for Razorback fans just to kind of experience that and to see that level again. But that's kind of been the whole weird thing about this season, where it's a big one for Sam Pittman. I mean, this was do or die for Sam Pittman, whether or not it was going to be considered a success. And it's been good so far, but there's still just a lot of inconsistencies. I mean, they're good enough to go out there and beat a good Tennessee team, but then they are also bad enough to get just destroyed by LSU at home. And then the same thing with Oklahoma State at the beginning of the year, which is a bad loss at this point. But They gave Texas A&M a good run for their money and had a position to win that game. So it's just very strange where they've been good enough to be competitive, but in times they just haven't been good enough to win. And it's still tough to figure out this team 7 games in, I'm going to be honest with you.
And, John, I think that's a pretty good Texas A&M team. Not a great Texas A&M team, but pretty good. To me, the Oklahoma State game is the one where you're like, if you could get a do-over, that's the one, because they're sitting at 5 wins with some opportunities remaining. And that kind of brings us to Saturday. And we've talked about, for the last couple of weeks, this is a massive game. It's obviously big for Arkansas. They're trying to get to bowl eligibility, and then if there's an opportunity to get beyond 6, great. And for Mississippi State, it's like, man, they've played better. They just need a win so bad, one way or the other. And that makes this a big one in a series where Arkansas has won the last 2, but Mississippi State certainly has had its share of success against the Razorbacks.
Yeah, they have. And what's crazy about this from the Arkansas perspective is, to me, this game is the season. It's weird. It's not like I circled it before the year started saying that, hey, the game in Starkville is going to decide the fate of the Razorbacks. But that's kind of where you're at right now, because this is the game that Arkansas, to be honest, should win. They should take care of business. And the thing that Arkansas has struggled with this year has been offense as far as getting into the end zone. They have a lot of production, but just not getting points on the board. They're going up against the Mississippi State team that is improving, no doubt, but still has a lackluster defense. So this should be a matchup that Arkansas goes in there and wins. Because if they don't, the season's over. Like, the Sam Pittman era is going to come to an end. I feel strongly about that, because then you turn around and you get Ole Miss at home, which Ole Miss is a really good football team. Been a weird game, but you just don't feel as confident in winning that one. You get a bye week, but then you have Texas coming to town. And you end the season with Missouri on the road, which it's hard to have confidence that Arkansas wins any of those games. So this is a very crucial and pivotal game for Arkansas, to where if they lose this one, they may not win another one in the SEC, where if they win this one, they still have a fighter's chance and a puncher's chance of having a 7-8 win season, as unlikely as it may be. So this one's big, and I'm just hoping we get something that's better than that incredible college football game that I got to witness in person last year that ended 7-3. I really hope that we get something better than that. That's all I'm asking.
John, I thought we could go the entire conversation without bringing that up. And by the way, I was reversed in when I said it's Mississippi State that's won the last 2. Razorbacks had won the 2 before that in the series. Hey, Dad, go ahead.
So, John, you said Arkansas struggling offensively. I have great news for you. Tremendous news about this weekend. You can't wait to find out what's going to happen. Can Arkansas win a high-scoring game? They kind of had that with Oklahoma State, a little bit of a shootout there. But, Mississippi State's going to give some Arkansas some points, but I think Arkansas State's going to get points as well. If we go into a shootout, if both teams are in the 30s, can Arkansas come out on top?
I mean, I think that they're capable of it. We just really haven't seen it. And the only one, as you mentioned, was like that Oklahoma State game. But here's what's crazy about that is Arkansas scored 31 points in that game, which is a pretty good amount of points considering how Arkansas's offense has gone. But they had 650 offensive yards, where it's almost like you had points, but if you have 650 offensive yards, you should probably score more than just 31 points. And that's really been the case for Arkansas. They're fourth in the SEC, guys, fourth in the SEC in total offensive yardage. They're top 5 and top 6, I believe, in rushing in and passing offense. But yet they are 12th in scoring offense. And the biggest problem is that they have production. They do some good things. They just don't put the ball in the end zone. They are dead last in the SEC in red zone offense, whether it's missing field goals, whether it's going for it on fourth down and not getting it, or just not getting into the end zone, period. They have struggled with it, and that's been a major problem. So on paper, it seems like, okay, if Arkansas is going to do it, this is going to be it. And I think they're capable of winning a high-scoring game. But at the same time, this team has been so weird and so crazy that if they did get into a high-scoring game, I mean, something happened with the defense, which I think has been very vastly improved, which opens up another problem. So point is that I think that they can still win a type of shootout, but I really don't want to see it happen, because if that's the case, then it's just going to have more questions than answers after this.
John, I saw a tweet today that it looks like Jaquindon Jackson, the Arkansas running back leading rusher for the team, is on the doubtful list as far as this weekend goes. Do you expect him to be out this weekend? And if he is, who steps up to replace him for the Hawks?
Yeah, I expect him to be out. I don't expect him to play. I just love how Sam Pittman in the press conference on Monday said that he gave him a very, I think it's a very questionable is what he put it as, and then he got doubtful. I just think he's going to be out. He's not going to be 100% healthy. But they do have a few guys that can step up, and one of them is going to be the true freshman Braylon Russell. He was a 4-star player coming out of Arkansas, and a lot of high hopes. He's a big old kid, about 6'2", 240 pounds, 250 pounds, somewhere in there, and really showcased some abilities there against Tennessee in that win. He was there on the final drive in that game and had some big-time runs to seal the deal for Arkansas. So that's going to be big. But the problem is that they did not play him very much against LSU, and I think that upset Sam Pittman. And he made sure to tell everybody in that press conference on Monday, we are going to feed Braylon Russell. We're going to get him involved. We're going to make sure that he has the rock. He's earned it. He's deserved it. And we can't wait to see what he's going to be able to do. So I think that it's going to be Jackson out. Braylon Russell's going to step in. You still have Rashad Nabinion, who had a rough game against LSU, but could bounce back. We'll see about Rodney Hill, the other running back. But I think this is going to be the Braylon Russell game, and seeing the true freshman really get to carry the majority of the carries.
John, Luke Haas had such a good start to his freshman campaign a year ago, and then he had that broken collarbone. And he has not been as big a factor in the offense as maybe I thought he would. Is that a function of Bobby Petrino and the way he's calling plays? Is it a function of maybe he's not all the way back? That's a position that has been really important to Arkansas through the years. Ask me how I know. I can give you a reason or two, but it's a spot that's been important and good for Arkansas. Does Haas factor in down the stretch?
Well, it's been so strange thinking about this player in Luke Haas, which I agree with you. I mean, he before he got hurt last year, he was on pace to have a all SEC freshman type of year, and he was a preseason all SEC player. So I really felt like, and especially with the Bobby Petrino offense, because some of the guys you named, like DJ Williams, who was a Mackey Award winner back in Arkansas about 15 years ago, as well as Chris Gragg, played in the NFL. Both those tight ends played for Petrino. So you felt like, hey, he's going to get involved. He's going to make sure that they get the ball to him, but they just haven't been able to do it. And I think it's a culmination of a lot of things. I think one of it has to be about the play calling and the setup and the plays that they're going up against, but also, too, Kalen Green, it's taken a little bit to get to the trust factor of who he likes to throw the ball to. Andrew Armstrong's his number one target, and he's getting better, and he's getting better at passing the ball around, but that's been the main deal. And the other factor is, just to be honest, is Luke Haas has been dealing with a back injury.
Okay.
It's not anything serious enough to take him out of the game, but, I mean, you guys know this just like we all do. We deal with injuries, we deal with pains, but there's nothing worse than back pain and trying to go out there and run routes and take hits. And I think that that's played a bigger factor than what Sam Pittman and the team wants you to think. But He's gotten better. It seems like he's gotten a little bit more production. Definitely did against LSU. So we'll see how much they rely on him. But he's a great player. That doesn't change the fact that they just have not done enough to get him the ball, in my opinion.
John, last thing. We've got 30 seconds to a hard out. If Arkansas wins on Saturday, what was the reason?
Arkansas wins on Saturday, it's because they won the turnover battle. They have lost every single game that they've lost the turnover battle. They've won every single game they won the turnover battle. To me, it's as simple as that. Take care of the ball. Do what you're supposed to do. Get the ball in the end zone and increase the red zone offense. And there you have it. You win the game against Mississippi State in Starkville.
Simple enough. John, thanks.